What do you think is the bedrock of brain development? Well, research has shown that apart from um, genetic factors, we also have other factors that can actually enhance brain development. And one of those factors is logical reasoning. Research has shown that how well your brain develops is dependent on how much information you expose your brain to. Now, the more information you expose your brain to, the more your brain develops. Apart from genetic factors, I can tell you categorically that if you can start exposing your brain to a lot of challenging tasks, a lot of information search and all that, I want to tell you that your brain will develop immensely in no time. And that's why in this episode, this series, I'm going to be taking you through a journey on logical reasoning. Based on my own antecedents and the way I was, taught logical reasoning, I was left with no other option. I and some of my colleagues, or most of my colleagues back then in high school, were left with no other option than to cram. And by so doing, the main essence of that particular topic is, actually forfeited. So that reason was forfeited, and we just had to just cram to pass. But then, if you can stick to to this channel and ensure you watch each of the series that I'll be dropping, at least I'll take it one step at a time and ensure that you understand everything in depth. I've done this before, and I'm sure I can say with assurance that whatever I'm going to be, dishing out to you is going to be dished out in simple terms, and anybody can comprehend this. And by so doing, you actually be able to scale up your brain capacity. You understand that there are people that they find it difficult to, think outside the box. When you give them a statement or you make a statement outside the literal meaning of that statement, they find it difficult to decode. And this has to do with logic. So the more information your brain has been exposed to, the easier it is for your brain to be able to decode a large number of information. Without further delay, let me just start, you know, dishing it out one after the other so that you understand that you're at the right place at the right time. And I want to believe that by the end of this teaching, you all have a reason, to appreciate my efforts. Thank you very much. Now let's dive quickly into logical reasoning. The first thing you need to know is what is logic. Let's start from there. Of course, in order for you to learn any concept, you need to understand the literal meaning of that concept. First and foremost, logic is actually a branch of philosophy. So you need to know that logic is a branch of philosophy, and not just that alone, it also, aimed at deducing valid conclusion from an argument based on some principles. So logic is a branch of philosophy that has to do with deducing valid conclusion from an argument based on some scientific or individual reasoning. And that's what logic is all about. Now let's take some notes. The first thing is logic is a branch of philosophy. You should know that. Take note of that. Logic is a branch of philosophy. So we say that logic is a branch of and philosophy is a branch of science. So you can see the way it is. Philosophy is a branch of science, logic is a branch of philosophy. And not just that, logic is aimed at deducing a valid conclusion from an argument based on some principles. So you need to mark it. There are some principles, there are some conditions that need to be met, and those conditions will actually determine what your conclusion will be. So we need to understand that. Now, um, having understood what logic is all about, you need to understand that how you decide whether a statement is a logical statement or not is actually dependent on what you think about logical statements. So the next thing you need to know is how do you know a logical statement? Simply put, a statement is said to be logical if that statement can actually answer a yes or no. So if you have a statement such that you can answer yes or no to that statement, then that statement is a logical statement. So we are saying that a logical statement whose answer can either be yes or no. Either yes or no. But in logic, we don't use yes or no, but instead we use true or false. True or false. So if a statement can either be true or false, then it's a logical statement. Else, it's an illogical statement. Now, example, let me give examples of logical statements. So examples of logical statements. I'll give a few examples so you understand when I say a statement is logical. So example of logical statements. Number one, if I say the boy is intelligent, the boy is intelligent. Of course, this can either be true or false, and not both. So it's possible that the boy is actually dependent on my criteria. But based on my criteria, I'm saying that the boy is intelligent. So this can either be true or false. So it can either be true or false. Another example is we can say that that lady is fat. That lady is fat. Of course, this can also be either true or false. So it's also a logical statement. Another example is pi is 32.5. Now, pi in mathematics, the value of pi in mathematics is 22 by 7 or 3.142. Now, same pi is 32.5. This statement is actually false because it negates the general principle that we know in mathematics. So it's actually a logical statement. Another example, let me give an example. If I say 3 multiplied by 5 equals to 35. Of course, in mathematics, 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. So saying that it's 35 makes it false. That means it's also a logical statement. So simply put, a logical statement is a statement whose answer can either be a true or a false. Else, it's actually a logical statement. So if a statement is not logical, obviously we won't be talking about logical reasoning. So that means there's nothing to discuss. So the first thing is ensure that it's a logical statement. And also we also need to understand, okay, let me give an example of some examples of statements that are illogical. Examples of illogical statements. Now, examples of illogical statements include number one, go to hell. Go to hell. This statement, you can say it is true or it is false. It's more or less like a command. It's more or less like an exclamation. Go to hell. Maybe after something has happened and I want to show my grievance, I just say go to hell. That nobody can answer a true or a false to this. So this is a logical statement. Another example, another example is this. What is your name? What is your name? This is not a logical statement because you can't answer a true or a false to this statement. So you need to know these factors and these conditions. If the answer can neither be true nor false, then it is not a logical statement. Now that being said, that will lead us to logical connectives. But before I dive into logical connective, let me quickly say something about simple statement and composite statement. A statement is a simple statement, just like the ones that we mentioned earlier. All those simple statements, because when we're dealing with composite state or when we're dealing with logical connectives, we'll be making reference to a lot of composite statements. So it's very expedient that you understand the difference between simple statement and composite statement. Example of simple statement, I can say that, let me say this, that's a statement. So if I say the boy is or the boy is fat, yes, and there's another statement, the boy is intelligent, the boy is intelligent. just use smart. Boy is smart. Now, these two are simple statements. The boy is fat. It's just very simple the way it is. And the second statement is the boy is smart. All those, statements, they are simple statements. So if I want to bring out a composite statement for me, then I can bring the two together. So composite statement is just a statement that comprises of more than one simple statement. So for the composite statement, we can say that the boy is fat and smart. So once you combine the two, then it becomes a composite statement. Now the next thing we want to do now is let's quickly talk about the different types of logical connectives. This is so important because we are going to be connecting simple statements with different connectives. Like in this case, the boy is fat and smart. We actually used one of the logical connectives. And so you need to understand that concept, what they do, and how we use them in different categories of questions. Now, the first logical connective that I want you to know is we have um, the conjunction, we have finally, we have disjunction, and we have the implicative, and finally we have by implicative. Now, these are the four types of conjunctions that we have. So I'll be taking them one after the other so that you understand the way we use each of them and what they do, and also how we interpret them anytime, any day, in any question. So once you understand the concept, no matter where you find yourself, once all these things have been discussed, you actually understand how those things relate with basic statements that will come your way. Now, let me just cut it here. In the next lesson, we're taking these conjunctions, these logic connectives one after the other, conjunction followed by disjunction. So if you stumble on any of these videos before the previous one, I want to crave your indulgence that you please go to the description box and check out the link of the previous one so that you can actually know where we are coming from. And by so doing, you can follow accordingly. Because if you stumble on bi-implicative video, it may be difficult for you to understand bi-implicative without watching the other videos. But then along the line, somehow, we drop the link to each of the previous videos that we've watched before or we've made before so that anybody can follow the video accordingly. So thank you very much. That'll be all for now, and I will see you in the next tutorial.